Hey book readers, in honor of college basketball's March Madness tournament, let's talk sports books.
Sports.
I'm a big fan of running around, sweating, and showing off my lack of coordination. But until there's a book written about my first grade soccer team, go Hornets, I'll have to settle for reading about others' athletic accomplishments. Some of the books on this list will move you to tears. Others may inspire you to sign up for that adult kickball league where you can yell obscene curses at teen umpires and tear your ACL. Anyway, let the sportsing begin. Dustbowl Girls by Lydia Reader. This is a historical nonfiction book about the Oklahoma Presbyterian College women's basketball team during the 1930s.
Oklahoma!
Sam Babb was the team's charismatic coach and the great uncle of the book's author. Babb offered college scholarships to rural farm girls, helping them to get an education while playing for the Cardinals basketball team. Set against the backdrop of the Depression and evolving views on women's roles, the book follows the Cardinals as their performances start to make national headlines. The team even has a rivalry with Babe Didrikson-Zaharias, the legendary female athlete who won gold and silver medals for track and field in the 1932 Olympics. Granted, the book is more focused on the team itself rather than the bigger societal picture. For example, there are descriptive play-by-plays of the games that make you feel like you were actually there, witnessing the drama unfold from a seat in the bleachers. For some, that might seem tedious, but I loved it. We also get to know the players on the OPC Cardinals pretty well, learning about their backgrounds, quirks, and even a little about their personal lives. It's a neat glimpse into a little-known, oft-forgotten corner of the sports world that played a small role in paving the way for female collegiate athletes today. Up next is Loose Balls by Terry Pluto. The NBA wouldn't be the basketball league it is today without the influence of the American Basketball Association, also known as the ABA, a colorful and chaotic league which was around from the late 60s to the mid-70s. It's the league that inspired Will Ferrell's insane basketball movie Semi-Pro.
Jackie's teammates doing just an awful job of stabilizing his spine.
With the league's three-point line, slam dunk contest, and exciting style of play all still part of the game. Loose Balls is an oral history of the ABA, not to be confused with ABBA. With in-depth interviews from players, coaches, owners, and other key figures. At its heart, it's a story about characters, essentially creating the star basketball players today that the sport revolves around. And in the ABA, larger-than-life personalities reign supreme. If you want to read stranger-than-fiction anecdotes that are hilarious, even if you don't like basketball, this is an essential read. It perfectly captures one of the craziest, most turbulent chapters in sports history, and the strange but important legacy the ABA has in the U.S. sports landscape.
Rain dance!
I will say that it could have been 100 pages shorter. Not sure there's 450 pages worth of gold in here, but there's certainly enough entertainment if you want to pick and choose what topics or characters you're interested in. Up next is one that a few more folks have probably read, and that is Beartown by Frederik. Backman. On a more serious end of the sports spectrum, there's Beartown. It's a heavy novel set in a hockey-obsessed small town in Sweden. It follows several Beartown residents, including members of the junior ice hockey team and their families. Hockey is a way of life here, and pretty much everyone is dead serious about it. There's no knuckle pucks, quacking, or flying V in this story.
Come here. You practicing that triple D?
During the book, this tight-knit town is torn apart by a violent criminal act. As Beartown tries to put Humpty Dumpty back together again, the pieces just won't fit. Relationships are broken, morals are questioned, prejudices come to light, and the tension is amped up to an 11. So be warned that this book isn't for the faint of heart. It seems like an innocent novel at the start of it, but eventually digs into difficult topics like rape, betrayal, and the dark side of human nature.
Well, that sounds intense.
Beartown also shows how your community has a power that you often don't ever see. On one hand, your community can encourage you to succeed, but on the flip side of the coin, if you're at odds with others in your town, they may try to besmirch your reputation. And yes, I just wanted to say the word besmirch because it's a great word, besmirch.
You have to balance besmirchings.
And now I'm going to chat about one I've talked about a couple times before already, and that's 12 Mighty Orphans by Jim Dent. We're back to Depression-era nonfiction with the true story of the Mighty Mites high school football team from Fort Worth, Texas in the 1930s and 40s. This is the ultimate sports underdog story featuring an undersized group of orphans brought together by an ingenious coach, Rusty Russell, to form one of the most formidable football teams in Texas football history.
I'm gonna score a touchdown! I'm gonna score a touchdown!
Yeah, it's kind of like that. And part of the charm comes from the teamwork and relationships, which play big roles in how the Mighty Mites succeed. There are tons of quirky characters, and it's written in a way that makes you feel like this could have happened yesterday. Even though they have economic problems to overcome due to the time period and living situation, it's endearing to see the solutions the kids and coaches come up with to overcome these issues, as well as the joy these boys got from simply playing the game. You can't help but cheer for all the Mighty Mites players as they come up against football giants that they have no business beating. It's also worth noting that this was made into a movie starring Luke Wilson and Martin Sheen. I haven't seen it yet, but I plan to soon. Up next is Undefeated, Jim Thorpe and the Carlisle Indian School football team by Steve Sheinkin. Here's another true football story about a historic team, one of America's greatest athletes of all time, and the legendary football coach Pop Warner. Even better, this book perfectly balances education and entertainment. So it's informative, but never boring. As the book jacket says, this story takes an unflinching look at the U.S. government's violent persecution of Native Americans in the school that was designed to erase Indian cultures. It's a story of a group of young men who come together at that school, the overwhelming obstacles that they face both on and off the field, and their absolute refusal to accept defeat. Because it's been over 100 years since the time of Jim Thorpe and his athletic prowess, he's unfortunately unknown by almost anyone other than diehard sports fans. This book shows you just how much he deserves to be in the same breath as his contemporaries like Babe Ruth, as well as modern two sports stars like Bo Jackson and Deion Sanders, especially because of the prejudice and social challenges that Thorpe faced. Jim Thorpe, also known as Bright Path, was a Native American from Oklahoma, who became a god of the gridiron, eventually playing professional football and baseball and winning gold medals for track and field at the 1912 Olympics. This book explores the lives of the students at the Carlisle Indian School and the transformation of football into one of skill and speed rather than sheer brute force.
Powerbomb, compliments of Captain Insano.
And last on my list is Born to Run by Christopher McDougall. If you're a runner, I tip my hat to you. I've never run anything longer than a 5K, and I just don't know how people can run for 4 hours or more without their legs falling off once they stop.
I believe it's jogging or yogging. It might be a soft J.
This book takes a look at the phenomenon of running, mainly at ultra running, where extreme athletes run for over 50 or 100 miles. In Born to Run, the author is trying to track down a group in Mexico called the Tarahumara, who are rumored to run for days on end in unforgiving terrain with only simple sandals. And not only that, but they run even in old age, avoiding the common injuries that plague modern-day runners. The book then swerves into human history and the evolutionary advantage we gain from our bodies being able to run for long periods of time. There's science, there's physics, and there's a whole lot of people using the ankle express.
Run, Forrest, run!
It may not be the perfect book about running, but it's sure to inspire anyone who reads it to lace up their sneakers and jog around the block for a while. There you have it, 6 sports book all-stars. Are there any that I forgot or missed? If so, let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Happy sportsing and happy reading.